Welcome to the PHLY Sixers postgame show here on a Thursday, front end of a back-to-back for the Sixers against their Atlantic Division foe, the New York Knicks. And while things got a little close towards the end in the fourth quarter, ultimately throughout the evening, it was a tough watch for this team. Down by as much as 26 in the game, clawing all the way back to 6-point deficit late in the midway through the fourth quarter. But they just could not stop the New York Knicks from hitting a couple of three-pointers, getting some offensive rebounds, which was really a key throughout the night, a problem for the Sixers overall. So Derek, Bodner, Devon Givens with you. Kyle Neubeck will join live from the arena. Brianna's producing. All of you in the chat, we can't wait to speak with you, get your thoughts on everything as the Sixers fall to the New York Knicks 110-96. And Derek, I think the theme that not only myself, we saw Kyle tweeting things, Brianna watching the game here, offensive rebounds, rebounding in general, turning the basketball over, missed opportunities, lack of effort from this basketball team early on. And when they did get gut punched, they did not know how to respond. And big shots from New York, taking advantage of those second chance opportunities in this one. And while the Sixers did fight back, we were like, oh, look at that. It's about to go to 4 points. Kelly Oubre missed 2 layup opportunities. And then the next thing you know, it's right back up to double digits.
Yeah, the rebounding is just infuriating. And I don't think there's an easy solution here. Obviously, without Joel Embiid, you're a little bit behind the 8 ball. But because Mo Bamba has been so bad, and even when he's on the floor, it's not like they can rebound. In fact, I looked it up. They give up about, I think it's like a 32 or 33% offensive rebounding rate when Mo Bamba's on the floor so far on the season. That would be good for last in the league, 30th out of 30th. So they're not rebounding the ball when he's in there. Because of that, what did he play? Maybe 5 minutes tonight?
Yep.
Because of that, Nick Nurse has been going to a lot of small ball lineups. Unfortunately, with Covington and Melton both out of the lineup, most of their smaller players are also poor rebounders. And then you've got Tobias Harris, and we'll get to that in a minute. I'm sure we'll be stuck on that for a little while. So there's not really an easy solution. But in a game like this one, where you get into such a big hole and you have to climb your way all the way back out, you can't give away points. And they just gave away so many second chance points. They ended up getting outscored 19-12, I believe it was, in terms of second chance points. It felt even bigger than that. I think the Knicks had some opportunities that they didn't convert, but it was just infuriating. And like I said, I don't know if there is an easy solution, not until Joel Embiid comes back. Even when Joel Embiid was in the lineup, they were never really a good defensive rebounding team, but they were at least competent. I would love for a little bit of competency in that regard. I just don't think it's on the horizon.
Yeah, and that's why when we were discussing the trade deadline, Andre Drummond's name came up a bunch. Kelly Olynyk, who's not really known for his rebounding and hitting the glass that way, it was just more of his spacing and all, but just having another big man on this team to go with Paul Reed because of the Mo Bamba situation that Derek is talking about. 5 minutes, and what happened? What did Nick Nurse ultimately do? He wound up going to KJ Martin Jr. KJ Martin down the stretch playing center minutes because he just flat out did not trust Mo Bamba. And quite frankly, as well as Paul Reed has played, he even lost some of his minutes too, but he played 22 minutes and 29 seconds, where KJ Martin played 21 minutes and 6 seconds. Now, KJ Martin did play some forward minutes when he came into the game early on, but once Nick Nurse and the coaching staff realized that they were getting nothing from Mo Bamba tonight, establishing that very, very early, they had to go to a different game plan. And as a result, KJ Martin got those minutes. I don't fault him for anything because he was out there trying, gave effort, and guess what? Yeah. Led the team in rebounding with 7 rebounds. But he needed to come off the bench to do that because of what you weren't getting from others. And then Tobias Harris, as Derek said, we'll talk about that. Many people are already talking about Tobias Harris in the chat. We'll get to that. But that's where we talked about during our pregame, again, presented by our good friends at Coors Light. And when we discussed it, rebounding, defense and rebounding, how will that change after having the All-Star break, a chance at them looking at some different strategies, the roster construction, we already know what it is at this point. So what are those lineups going to look like? Rebounding, offensive rebounds. The numbers don't look that bad when you look at them on paper. 45-38, New York wins the rebounding battle. Those 5 offensive rebounds more, 12-7. It seemed like it was 22-7 on the offensive glass, the way that New York was getting those loose balls, getting on the floor. Floor rebounds from New York that would hit the floor before the Sixers even gathered, and they had the opportunity to pick up that rebound. And what did they do? Bang, dagger, three-pointer from one of the many Knicks players like Dante DiVincenzo. Bogdanovich hit 5 for 5 in the first half. He seemed like he wasn't going to miss. And that was, again, a big part of those second chance opportunities that New York had, allowing them to really separate themselves. The Sixers seemed like they really had to play almost a perfect game in this one. And rebounding and defense and that extra effort, those little intangibles, the 50-50 balls was a big part of that. And that did not come to fruition in this game tonight in their first game back of the second half. And that showed itself in a big way. And it also showed itself when you now have another opponent where, number one, Mitchell Robinson didn't play because he's out injured. Julius Randle didn't play, out injured. Isaiah Hartenstein is a very good backup, and he's been playing well for New York. He didn't play all that much. He didn't hurt them. He played 10 minutes and 48 seconds. It was Precious Achiuwa, Jericho Sims really giving the Sixers problems, and some of the other guys as well getting on the offensive glass. 5 for Jericho Sims, 4 for Precious Achiuwa. That's 9 right there from your bigs, your centers at that spot. And the Sixers could not mount any kind of effort there on the glass to get those rebounds, to not get in trouble and give up those chances there for the Knicks in that second half. Again, they cut it to as many as 6. We thought they were going to get it to 4 when Kelly Oubre drove. Looked like he was going to finish at the rim. He had another opportunity, missed that one too. They go right back down the floor, hit a three-pointer, 9 points, and then it's up to 12 points and lights out at that point.
Yeah, and to your point, like the rebounding differential might not look that bad, 12-7 offensive rebounds. That's in part because the Sixers missed more shots. Like the Sixers missed, I think, 8 more shots than the Knicks. So when you look at it on a percentage basis, I think the Knicks grabbed about 30% of the available offensive rebounds. The Sixers about 15%. When you double up someone on the offensive glass, essentially, that is going to have a big outcome or big impact on the outcome. The Knicks just didn't miss as many shots. They shot 44% from 3, nearly 50% from the field. So for them to end up with 12 offensive rebounds is infuriating. And it's infuriating in part because, like I said, they got themselves into such a big hole in the first half, in part because I thought their offensive game plan and method of attack was poor, in part because that led to some transition opportunities that New York capitalized on. But when you get yourself into that big of a hole, you can't give up the effort points. You can't give up the floorboards. You can't get pushed around like they did. And again, I think part of the reason they get pushed around is because they don't have a real viable backup big man right now. And so they go small, and the players they have to go small aren't really built for this kind of ramp up in terms of physicality. That being said, you just need more help. You need more help from Tobias. You need more help from everyone across the board, and they just didn't get it.
No, they did not. And as a result, the Sixers came into this game just a half game back of the Knicks in the Eastern Conference standings. Of course, the Atlantic Division, because they are Atlantic Division foes. But the big part, obviously, is the standings. So the Sixers are sitting in the 5th spot right now with the New York Knicks in the 4th spot. And because of this loss, they're now a game and a half back, and the Knicks have taken the first 2 games of the season series with 2 more remaining. And the Sixers had an opportunity tonight where, you know, Derek and I predicted in the pregame show that we felt like this was one that they would be able to steal and take this game. But as we saw it play out, it happened really fast, too. They didn't really give us an opportunity to feel good about anything because the Knicks got out to a 12-3 start over the Sixers. Hustle plays, as we talk about, some big three-pointers, some breakaway finishes that led to a timeout by Nick Nurse. And while the Sixers once again did mount a comeback, at the end of the first quarter, they were still down by 11 points there, 32-21. Double that up, really, in the second quarter, down by 23 at the break, and as many as 26 in this game. And while they did come back and fight and give a pretty good effort in doing so, part of it was because they played the small ball. We'll talk more about the lineup changes that Nick Nurse had out there and some guys running out of gas overall. We didn't see the Buddy Hield game that we thought we would see based on what we had a chance to look at through the first 4 games that he has played in the Sixers uniform. But you saw a few other things that, especially playing on the second night of a back-to-back on Friday, where we'll have our watch party with everybody, our takeover at the arena as the Sixers host the Cavaliers. Cavaliers played tonight, and they fell to the Orlando Magic at home. But they're going to come in here wanting to get back at the Sixers. They lost 116-109 to the Orlando Magic, but they're going to want to come in here and really put it on the Sixers because of what happened before and the fact that they lose to Orlando tonight. And they don't want to lose too much ground in the Eastern Conference standings because of some head-to-head matchups, some playoff situations later on that could factor into what may take place later on in the season once we get around that April time. That's really going to start that talking about the jockeying and what needs to happen. Cleveland is right there for them tomorrow, and they have some issues that really showed themselves in this game, especially against a bigger team with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in that lineup. They're going to have to deal with a few things there against that basketball team that Jericho Sims, yes, but the twin towers of those two, and we talk about the rebounding, they found a way to figure it out and play Cleveland and beat Cleveland before the All-Star break. Cleveland's going to make some adjustments. Does Nick Nurse have that in him, especially seeing how they played tonight, to get them to come back and compete and get on the glass the way that they need to not have them in a hole once again with the offensive rebounds and the second chance points?
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow night's game is interesting because on the one hand, not only do they have the bigs to cause the Sixers problems with the offensive rebounding, but they have the perimeter, the scoring potential and the driving kick game on the perimeter, where the Sixers don't really have lockdown defenders out there anyway. So if you get dribble penetration and you're already struggling on a glass, it's only going to make that problems worse. I'm really interested to see how the Sixers react to that and whether they're able to overcome that to some degree. They obviously did a little while back here before the break. That is a tough matchup for them, though.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm at this point, you want to get the wins and you want to be able to evaluate. For me, a lot of that is Maxey and Hield on the backcourt and whether or not they can hold their own defensively. So I am looking forward to tomorrow's game while acknowledging that I'm very concerned about whether or not they can stop the ball and whether or not they can rebound the ball if they do somehow force a miss. It is, it's concerning.
Yeah, and look, and we'll talk about the Cavs a little bit later, too, as we kind of preview the game, and we hope to see you all down there at the arena as we sit together and watch the game. That the Cavs had some big leads in that first game, in that last game before the All-Star break, where Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland were going off. Jared Allen was grabbing every rebound. Isaac Okoro was hitting threes in that game. They had so many things. Karis LeVert playing well. They had so many things going for them, but the Sixers did fight back and eventually win that game. This one seems like coming off of this one again, second night, even though they're at home, that could be a problem. That could be a big problem for them tomorrow in this game. But the Sixers 110, 96 in this one. I said 110. That's how bad the night was. The Knicks had 5 players in double figures, led by Bogdanovich, just 22, coming off the bench. 21 for Jalen Brunson with 12 assists, and he has 7 turnovers, and they couldn't overcome that tonight from Jalen Brunson. 16 for Dante DiVincenzo, 18 each from Josh Hart and Precious Achiuwa there for the New York Knicks. Again, 110, 18 turnovers that led to 23 points for the Sixers. They could not overcome that either. 18 turnovers for the Sixers, leading 14 for the Knicks the other way. As mentioned, Tyrese Maxey with 35. We'll talk about him. That's a good thing to talk about in this game on the other side. He led all with 35 in this game, 11 of 24, 4 of 11 from beyond, and 9 for 9, a perfect 9 for 9 from the free throw line. He was the only starter, by the way, to get to the free throw line in this game. 14 for Buddy Hield. Struggled tonight, 5 for 15, 4 of 19. Didn't seem like he could get into the same type of rhythm as before the All-Star break, but he did finish with 6 assists, leading the team in that category once again. 14 for Kelly Oubre Jr. and 11 for Kyle Lowry off the bench. After that, nothing. So your starters right there, 35 and 14, you get 49 points from your backcourt and just 9 points from the rest of the front court for your Philadelphia 76ers. That is not a recipe for success to win these games, especially against good basketball teams like the New York Knicks. So unfortunately, this one, they fall, and we actually thought that they would really win this game, and we were wrong in this one. So
yeah,
that's
to your point, you 49 from your backcourt, but outside of a brief stretch in the third quarter, I didn't think Buddy played all that well here either. It was really about Maxey, and he was phenomenal, and I'm sure we'll get to that in a second. Before we do, though, we want to make sure we tell you about Coors Light. From your day-to-day annoyances to the big stuff, Like, I don't know, maybe mediocre shooters taking pull-up threes with 15 seconds left on a shot clock, or 7-footers allergic to rebounding. Maybe my big annoyances are different than yours, but this is the life that I live. It's very easy to get worked up and caught up in day-to-day life. But there is a better way and a chiller way to handle that, and you can choose chill by reaching for an ice-cold Coors Light, as you can see right in front of us.
Yes.
With Coors Light, you know you're getting an ice-cold beer because the mountains turn blue when they're as cold as the Rockies. In the summer, we have a lot of family outings, pretty much every weekend. Sit in the backyard, play with the dogs, do a little grilling, get caught up in each other's lives. It's freaking fantastic. Can't wait until it's nice again. Whenever we do get together, we make sure that we have a great chill and relaxing Coors Light to help settle in and wash away a week's worth of stress. And with Coors Light, you know it's cold when you reach for the can because the mountains turn blue when they're as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is a cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When it's time to chill, open a Coors Light. When you choose to rise above it all, choose chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
And after a game like that and you're wanting to get back into the arena, maybe and catch a game, or maybe something else you want to do over the weekend to kind of forget about this one, and you need tickets to that event, well, I have perfect place for you. We've been telling you about them for a long time, and that is the great people from Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful for you, for your family, for your friends at all. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, theater, and much more. Get out there and get those tickets. Well, guess what? You know how you have to get out there and get them? Right, an easy thing right there on your phone. Everything is on your phone, right? Well, Game Time is no different. You can get right on your phone with killer deals on the last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun that you'll have. Flash deals and last-minute tickets. Last minute, oh, this person's in town. We want to go check them out. Bang, Game Time right there. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. And if you want to know where you'll be sitting in that venue, images of the seat views right there on your phone, on your Game Time app. Lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. right there for you at Game Time. It's the place for last-minute ticket deals, so forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, concerts, comedy, theater, and baseball back next month. You want to go see your squad in whatever town you're in? Certainly here in Philadelphia. Right here, exclusive flash deals with Game Time. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. And if you find those tickets in the same section and row for a lower price, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
All right. So do you want to get to the good, or do you want to get, because we got some super chats flowing in. Which one would you like to get
Let's get to the good.
All right.
Let's talk about, we just went 15 minutes talking negatively about everything that happened because it was mostly negative in this game. Let's talk some positive.
Tyrese Maxey's really good.
He's really good.
Yeah.
At first, he was getting off to that slow start, down 12-3. He missed a couple of shots. All right. I can trust him. I feel like he's going to bounce back. He did. 35 points, again, knocking down those threes, couple of tough finishes at the rim, perfect 9 for 9 from the free throw line. You saw him out there with some different backcourt mates, some small ball lineups, and he was still clearly the best player on the floor. Tyrese Maxey, Derek, is really good.
Yeah. No, and look, he came up short on some of the shots there late in the fourth. Like when they were trying to finish off that comeback, I thought
he got tired.
Yeah, and like that makes sense. He had 18 in the third quarter, was pretty much the reason they got back into it. His driving game was on point. I thought he made, probably one of his better passing games in obviously in quite a while. They haven't played basketball in 8 days, but of the season, this was probably one of his better passing games. He had a real nice kick out to Buddy for an open three. He had a nice drop off, bounce pass to Tobias in traffic. Tobias bungled it, but he was still a really good pass. I thought Tyrese made a bunch of really nice reads that gave me some optimism for the future. And obviously, when you can just step up, drop 35, shoot 11 threes, get to the free throw line 9 times, like he's really, really good at basketball. And it was a real good game for him. I think this was a pretty tough matchup for him. Like New York has a lot of size. I think he handled that well. If he had almost literally anybody else out there helping him, they have a chance of stealing a win. Him and Kyle Lowry was pretty much all that you had going for you most of the night.
Yeah.
And that was almost enough to get you back in the game against a good team, albeit a team that's, down a few key pieces. But yeah, he was really good.
All right, so after seeing Tyrese Maxey play well, he was out there with Kyle Lowry for a decent amount. They were out there together in the backcourt for a pretty good portion of the game, and Buddy Hield having an off night. We've seen him have good nights already where we feel like, again, we probably count on him for much more than what he gave tonight because of what he has done so far in the Sixers uniform. This was the first bad game that he has had, so we're not really picking at it. If anybody had a pulse, anybody else had a pulse, or even if just Buddy Hield had a better game than what he had, they might have made this a game down the stretch and given themselves a chance to win this one against the New York Knicks. But not having that help from others, certainly wish that Buddy Hield hit some of those shots because he had he had some good looks from behind the 3-point line. I also thought he took some bad shots. He was rushing a couple of those shots, and as a result, I think part of that, too, was because of nobody else doing anything but the three players that we discussed. Even Kelly Oubre, who hit double digits, he had some moments, but he also had some moments there, too, where we were like, that's a bad shot. That's a bad drive. You're not passing the basketball when you're getting to a spot because you missed an open teammate, cutting along the baseline. Make that extra pass around the perimeter when the ball swings to you instead of driving, and then the next thing you know, you turn the basketball over. They just needed one more player to score when you're fighting so much from the turnovers, the rebounding. Again, they had less turnovers, but they seemed like theirs came at the worst time during that stretch where New York really put the foot on the gas and got themselves that 26-point lead. They needed somebody else to help Tyrese Maxey and Kyle Lowry, for that matter, to combat that and make sure that they didn't spread even wider than it already was and caused the problem that it did. But Maxey, he was fantastic once again. He's going to continue to see the same type of coverages. He's going to continue to see those double teams. He's going to continue to see length on him as these defenders, many defenders in the game are going to be, that assignment is Tyrese Maxey. They need, again, some more from others in these types of games. They lost 110-96. They got it to within 6. They needed somebody else, not named Maxey, who scored 15 points in that third quarter. They needed somebody else to really take the reins and say, okay, I got you. Take a bit of a breather. And once you come back in after your breather in the fourth quarter, you pick us back up and take us home because you are the all-star. But unfortunately, they did not do that.
Yep. What did you think of Kyle's debut?
I thought before he took the elbow to the face, first of all, when he took the elbow to the face, there was no doubt in my mind, once you realize it wasn't a broken nose, that it was his forehead, he was going to get that stitched up, patched up, and come back into the game. So I was not surprised when we saw Kyle Neubeck, our partner at the arena, tweet out, Kyle Neubeck says Kyle Lowry is stitched up, coming back, able to return. Not surprised by that at all. I thought he looked energetic. He obviously knew the offense.
That reverse layup, I truthfully didn't know he still had it.
And that was against the clock.
Yeah.
So he had to really he had to do it. And he caught it on the perimeter, drove, and he had his mind made up that he was going to lay it up. He just had to use the other side to get it to go. I thought he was energetic. I thought that he passed up on a couple of shots from the perimeter. Maybe he felt like he didn't have his legs back enough to shoot those jumpers. But you could see the point guard in him as always. He had a pass underneath the basket for a layup opportunity, drove to the basket, hit Buddy Hield. To your point, with Tyrese Maxey hit him, the same thing for Kyle Lowry. For Buddy Hield, he kicked it out to Buddy Hield for a three-pointer. Point guard instincts take over defensively. His aggression is always there. Got his hand caught in a cookie jar at one point for a chippy foul, a little tic-tac foul there that, all right, he hasn't played in a month, that kind of thing. But I thought he was decisive with outside of the outside shooting. I think it was not indecisive. He knew he didn't want to shoot it, but then he would make the play to make the better play because of where he is at this stage of the season. But I thought he was good, man. And the one three-pointer that we were all talking about, when he did shoot and make it, I didn't think he even wanted to shoot that one, but he kind of had to because he was already in the air and it still went. But I thought outside of that one play, he was decisive. He had the energy despite not playing for a month. And I just thought that he played a really good game for his first time back since playing in a month. And his body looked pretty good too. He looked like he was in pretty good shape and had to get back into basketball shape of playing a game.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. He was ready to play basketball, which when he's been off for when was the last time he played basketball?
I think he said yesterday, January 18th?
Yeah, it was early January. Yeah, something like that,
18th,
mid-January, something in there. Because he got traded and then
He played
didn't
25
play.
minutes tonight.
Yeah, and played, like I said, I thought he had good energy. I thought he looked like he was in good shape. The rhythm, he seemed like he was in a good rhythm, which you never really know when players have a layoff like that. Made the three, the nice layup, made good decisions with the ball. I thought held his own defensively, and that's probably going to be my biggest question mark is can he hold his own? Tomorrow night is going to be a great test for that.
Sure.
But yeah, he did just about everything you could have asked for a debut. Probably played more minutes than you were expecting. But they needed that. Like I said, he was probably their second best player, which goes to show you why they were down 26 at some point. But he was able to play alongside Maxey, running the show without Maxey. I think that's going to be key. The fact that both of them can sort of go between on and off ball. Yeah, I thought he was real good.
Yeah, I thought he was real good. Definitely something to look forward to. And as Derek talked about, maybe 15 to 16 minutes in a debut, not 25. But Nick Nurse needed him tonight. And you know why he needed him? Number one, because he trusted him. And just needed smart stuff out there because early on, they just seemed so scatterbrained.
Yes.
And Kyle brought this up earlier when we were discussing things. He said, you never know what you're going to get, right? You never know what you're going to get first game back from an All-Star break. And they came out and they didn't look like they knew what they were doing. After practicing for 2 days, they didn't look like they had a clue what they were doing in that first couple of minutes before Nick Nurse called that timeout.
No, their offensive approach early was real bad. It was ISO ball, take a bad shot, long rebound, get back in transition, get beat. It was real, like their offensive problems were bleeding directly into their defensive problems. And they obviously settled that down in the second half. And look, Kyle having to go out there for much of that first half. This is one game where in our pregame show, which we rarely do, but we did today, we're like, man, just getting Batum back, getting Kyle Lowry added to the rotation, just key because like those are people you trust. Well, first of all, Batum was pretty awful.
He was awful.
He was awful. He looked like he was not in a rhythm at all. And also he picked up 4 fouls in like the first 9 minutes of play.
Yep.
So he was barely on the floor in the first half. And then Kyle only played, I think, like 8 or 9 minutes in the first half because he got the cut on the head. So that stabilizing force that we were hoping for barely even really played. And I thought that was a little bit of a factor in their struggling. And also the fact that Batum just didn't look like he was in any kind of a rhythm. But yeah, Kyle was good. If he gives you that for the rest of the season, then that'll be a nice addition for sure.
Was there anyone else that you thought played, since you said played well, when we talk about Lowry and Maxey, was there anybody else who played decent basketball? I agree.
KJ?
I agree.
Cam, I thought in the first half was, outside of one really bad turnover, he had one really bad turnover.
First
but
possession.
outside of that, he was at least giving you a little bit of offense off the bench.
And remember, that was when Lowry went into the locker room in the first half.
Yep. But outside of that, like KJ might have been your third best player, which is not great. It's not great at all.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, he was at least competing on the glass. He gives you at least a little bit of athleticism and hustle. They didn't really have any, like I said, Buddy gave you a shot in a little bit in the third quarter, but outside of that, his shot was off. I thought he maybe forced things once or twice for maybe the first time since he's been here. No, they struggled, and we haven't even really spoken about Tobias Harris, who was.
That's because we were going to get to him.
Yeah.
All by himself. all by himself. We were going to get to him, but no, I agree with you. KJ Martin, man, and look. In the beginning where they seemed like they were, Derek, I don't know how you felt because when we watched the game together, we're kind of quiet how we watch it. And as we were watching it with Bree, we were all just sitting there. I thought when they didn't have the energy and they brought KJ, I think I had it written down here. KJ came in, Kyle Lowry came in along with Oubre and KJ Martin.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, okay, I get why Martin is coming in. He's playing the 5. I get that. A few minutes later, Mo Bamba came in. But in that first substitution wave there, those 3 came in together. And I was thinking, okay, they have no energy. Kyle Lowry's going to come in and give his best energy as possible. KJ Martin, he's going to play with some energy. The Kelly Oubre part, I understood because you needed some scoring. You were already down the way that you were down, 12-3. And the Sixers then go on a 5-0 run. But KJ Martin got the first nod over Ricky Council the fourth. When I looked at it, all right, he's going to play some front court minutes as a big. I get it. But then as the energy still looks so off for this basketball team, I was wondering when Nick Nurse was going to bring that infusion of energy and that one player that we know will bring that energy in Ricky Council the fourth. Not because of how we talk about him on this show, but just simply because that's what it seemed like it needed at that point in that first half. You need some energy here. And you need somebody to be able to close out on one of these three-point shooters and push up a little bit more on the perimeter. Kyle Lowry is certainly going to do it. Who else is going to do it? And Ricky Council did not get the call. KJ Martin did a good job, so he made Nick Nurse look good. But I thought there was an opportunity there early, Derek, where I felt 2 minutes, as Matt Court would say in the arena. But just 2 minutes of Ricky Council causing havoc, somehow maybe igniting something there, lighting a fire underneath them with some energy.
Yeah, and look, this was a first half where I thought the Knicks just came out with way more energy, way more activity on defense. We're really getting into what the Sixers were trying to do. It made them stagnant on offense, which ignited, New York's fast break. I would have just liked somebody who was going to compete on the glass, compete physically, drive in, try to get to the free throw line, just give you some jolt of energy that was clearly lacking in the beginning. And look, I think Ricky Council's minutes are going to take a pretty sharp dive here.
We all agree on that.
Weeks. I'm not saying like Nick Nurse has to play him regularly or every night or 20 minutes, but like every now and then an infusion of energy from a player is going to give you energy. I am certainly going to support that.
Yeah, and I just thought that it called for that. At some point in this game, I thought it called for it early on because you saw when he came in.
Yeah.
What happened? He almost forced a turnover, and then when he did get the basketball and drive to the basket, he got fouled. He missed his 2 free throws, but we've seen him make free throws, so we're not even picking at that, but it was just more of that's what we're talking about, bringing that energy, and they certainly missed that early on. Somebody else needed some energy and some more effort and some more points on the board to help out. We'll talk about him on the other side, but you know what he doesn't get? He doesn't get a bagel. He doesn't get the bagel player of the he doesn't get the bagel player of the game at all. Tyrese Maxey or Kyle Lowry gets the bagel player of the game for us tonight. And you know why? Because they were good. And you know what else is good? Bagels & Co. That's what we're talking about here. Bagels & Co. Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly with Philly love. Huge bagels, biggest bagels in Philly, very large, hence the Brooklyn, New Jersey style that we're talking about here. Large variety, usually have 15 to 20 different types to choose from on a daily basis. Have seasonal bagels as well. For instance, during Valentine's Day, they had the Valentine's bagel. St. Patrick's Day, got you covered. No problem. Just go to Bagels & Co. Why? Because they have the largest cream cheese varieties to go with the 15 to 20 different styles of the 30 different flavors of cream cheeses and schmears as well. Hey, you got the 76ers cream cheese during the season. Phillies with the upcoming season. They did this during the postseason. Eagles as well. They have all different styles and all different promotional types of cream cheeses for every occasion once these things, of course, roll around. So we want to make sure you check in with them. As always, affordable prices in today's inflationary world. You don't want to spend a lot, and they think that's key. They've debated about raising the prices, but they want to be an everyday brand and not some high-end place you just go to splurge on the weekends. They want you hitting them every single day on your way to work, working from home, taking the kids to school. No matter what, they want you to come back. Artisan, they're not an artisan mom and pop, but they do have a mom and pop feel, and they cater to the everyday individual need. A lot of the customers are certainly repeat. Hopefully you are once you hear about Bagels & Co. They have really good coffee, not $7 like Starbucks. Why go to Dunkin' and get a subpar product when you can go to Bagels & Co. and get a premium product at the same price point? So for the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, head to www.thebagelsandco.com/store locator to find the closest Bagels & Co. near you. And again, Tyrese Maxey, Kyle Lowry, they are the Bagels & Co. players of the game.
Okay.
They have enough where they can get one each. They don't have to split it. They can get one each.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do that. All right, let's get to Super chats, are they geared towards the guy we're going to talk
It's a
about
whole
who
bunch
didn't
of
earn a
it's-
bagel today?
It's a whole bunch of randomness. I guess we probably should talk about Tobias.
Let's just talk about him first, and then we'll run all these super chats. Thank you, everybody, for sharing and doing all that. We appreciate it.
He sucked.
Call it like it is.
And like, this is 2 games in a row because his last game he played was against Washington when he was 4 for 14 for 11 points. What do you end up with tonight in terms of his point total? He had 7 points on 3 of 9 shooting.
In 26 minutes and 36 seconds.
That's infuriating. It was just like watching him blow, like just drive down soft, get the ball stripped from him, miss that pass from Tyrese. And defensively, he was a mess. It was really, really bad. And I just, like you mentioned before the show, we did a pregame show, and you're like, what's the addition of Tobias Harris going to add to this team? And I said, I have no freaking idea. And tonight is a perfect example of that because you had at no point, at 0 points in this game, did you say Tobias is leaving a positive imprint on this game? Not one. $40+ million, been here for 5 years, 31, in the middle of his prime. You only have one player who's really going well offensively. You need him to step up. And he never at any point looked comfortable getting catch and shoot. Never at any point did I think they should throw the ball to Tobias and get him going. He just didn't have anything going on a night when you desperately needed him to. And I don't, like, how many times have we had this conversation here throughout the course of this year? I don't even know how to have this. Like, Kyle would be better to have in a studio right now because Kyle's the angry one and he'd go on a rant. And I'm just kind of like, I'm just at my wit's end. I'm just exhausted from, frankly, this conversation. I'm exhausted from having to try to rely on him. I'm exhausted that this is still going on. I don't know.
You don't always need to rant. You know how when
I'm just beaten down.
Yeah, because you know how when you would get in trouble, if you got in trouble as a kid, and your parents or one of your
me? No, I never would happen.
You didn't have that happen. Neither did I. Neither did Bree. But you know how we would witness other kids getting in trouble, and you would get yelled at. But then at some point, when it would happen over and over again, sometimes the parent just would not raise their voice or discipline you in a certain way that they may have the time before. They would just say, "I'm disappointed."
Yeah.
They would say it with a low tone. You knew it really, really hit you hard because they didn't yell at you. They didn't discipline you the same way before. And while we're not sitting here talking about disciplining Tobias Harris in our way, we're just simply saying, as Derek is laying out how he felt in watching this game, sure, there are moments where you're just raising your hand in the moment of the game, pounding a table or a chair, wherever you might be. You're laying it out because it's like, I've seen this before. I've been here. I don't need to yell anymore because I'm just sick and tired of it. While I have hopes that this can turn around and be something a little bit different once they get to the postseason or once they get into a game like this, an important game against an Atlantic Division, Eastern Conference opponent that is really going to help maybe down the line be really important for your situation in the standings in the East. And the guy that you need to count on the most when Maxey is doing his part, you're relying on a guy who has not played a month, has not played basketball, in Kyle Lowry to come in, took an elbow to the forehead, and still came out and gave you the performance that he did. Buddy Hield is off where he was playing well in the games before. Needed him to do something in this one, and he only took 9 shots. And the one thing that I didn't want to hear, which I don't know that we will, or somewhere it's just in my mind of, he didn't get enough touches. He didn't have enough opportunity for him to really go out there and display and showcase what he is more than capable of being that second guy to Tyrese Maxey tonight when they needed him most. And that's where the disappointment comes in, where you don't always have to raise your voice. Sometimes it's just sitting there, even though we're on camera and you have to say words, and this will ultimately be a podcast too, you're just kind of just shaking your head because it's like, here we go again, man. Here we go again. I saw so many comments that are like, get him off the floor.
Oh, yeah. Fans
so
are
glad
done.
he's coming off the books at the end of the season. So many, so on and so forth. And when you bring up that one Maxey pass, twice you talked about it already. I was watching him because as soon as it fumbled and went out of bounds, he went like this. He was telling Maxey to throw the alley-oop. Maxey made a perfect bounce pass to his hands. And while an alley-oop might have been sufficient, the other one was just as good, and he fumbled it. Then he came back on the very next possession. Bree was sitting on the other couch. I turned and looked at Bree, and we just shook our head because it was 2 turnovers in a row where he just fumbled the basketball. And that's where he was. As Derek said during pregame, I don't know. But I know one of the things that he thought was capable of happening from him in this game was a 3 for 9, 9-point performance in 25 minutes. Also, when they made their run, guess who wasn't on the floor?
Yeah.
Tobias Harris. I don't know that they would have continued to make that run because they did get fatigued.
Yeah.
But when he came back into the game, it flipped again, and it went the other way. So we'll see what we get, what they get from Tobias Harris against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But as Derek said earlier, I don't know.
Yeah, and like to your point, their run ending when Tobias came back, I don't really read too much into because at some point you just hit a wall. And I think the Sixers, by and large, hit a wall at the end. Like, it's so tough to make that climb all the way back because you have to do so many things perfect for so long and, beat them in the hustle categories for so long that eventually it's tough to sustain. But what I do read into is the fact that the only time it looked like they were playing real competent basketball was when he was on the floor. He is a ball stopper in the worst way. Like, it's one thing to be a ball stopper with Kelly Oubre, who, by the way, Kelly Oubre got up 14 shots in pretty much the same amount of minutes, even though most of those shots I didn't necessarily like. That's a ball stopper in one way, but Tobias is a ball stopper in the fact that he will hesitate, jab step, and then pass out of it. It's not even like a ball stopper like a shot. It's just the ball freezes, the game slows down, the movement stagnates, and then you have to reset your offense, and that just happens time and time again. And it's just, we're 5 years into the Tobias experience, and I don't fundamentally know how to maximize him, which is just a wild thing to say for a player making $40 million. I don't know what his optimal role is outside of elevating a mediocre team to be respectable.
And I tried to look at this too. When you have 3 new additions, he hasn't played much with Hield and Payne. By the way, when they also made their run, the big run against Washington, Ricky Council of the Force was on the floor and Tobias Harris was not. But you bring another person in like Kyle Lowry, and you're like, okay, got to adjust to another player. But this is a point guard who's looking to get you the basketball.
Yeah.
That's not hard.
Yep.
That's not hard. All right. A lot of people have a lot of things to say, certainly in our chat. We'll hear from Kyle later on from the arena. Let's get to some of these super chats as we line these up. Where do we begin? We begin with Bernard. At the top, we begin with Bernard. Bernard, I guess Brunson is MJ now. I would have let him score 50 and shut down the others. Second chance and rebounds in all caps are going to kill this team without Bede. Talking about Joel Embiid. Thanks, Bernard.
Yeah. I mean, look, they were in rotation a lot. Like, Brunson ended up not shooting all that well. He ended up shooting 5 of 18 from the field.
With 7 turnovers.
Became respectable because of the free throw line. But by and large, he was off tonight. But because he was able to get into the paint, get in the middle of that defense, spray the ball around 2 shooters, and force the big man to step up, he's right. He created a lot of open shots, and he created a lot of offensive rebounding opportunities. The Sixers do rotate perhaps more than they maybe should. I think that's been a problem for a while. I think part of that is just not only Nick Nurse and him being aggressive, although I think Nick Nurse does want to be aggressive, but I think there's a lot of players whose decision-making you maybe don't trust and they get caught in no man's land a lot, including your big in Paul Reed, including your other big in Mo Bamba, and including a lot of your wings whose decision-making, like I said, defensively, I just don't trust all that much. But yeah, they were not good defensively tonight, and I do think they probably over-rotated a little bit. I don't think he's wrong.
Yep. All right, let's go to Davon with a bunch of super chats there.
Yeah, somebody got paid.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it, man. We appreciate it. Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy B, says, hey, Nick Nurse, why play Batum over Ricky? He's younger, faster. He actually can score and rebound. He doesn't need Embiid on the floor to be effective. What are your thoughts on that one? We felt like he was going to come in and be a starter. Even though Kyle told us a little bit earlier that starting role outside of the 3 of Maxey, Embiid, and Harris, when all are healthy, are pretty much cemented. The other 2 spots are open. But we thought that Nick Batum would help out coming back.
Yeah, look, I was following the chat a little bit while you were talking there earlier, and there was a lot of angst towards Batum. And I think just, calm down a little bit. First game back, I think it's his first game he's played in 3 weeks and was in and out of the lineup before then. He's a player who I do think plays better with Embiid. So right now he might be a little overtasked or outside of his optimum role. But there's just not going to be a coach who's going to trust a 22-year-old undrafted rookie on a 2-way contract over a long-term vet who has a reliable outside shot and is a good passer. Like, I think Batum was bad today, really, really bad. But I 100% understand why Nick Nurse played him, and I 100% understand why Nick Nurse is going to continue to play him as long as Nick Batum is healthy. It's just like Ricky's fun. He's exciting because you need that kind of developing that kind of a young player with those kind of physical tools is something that's going to be fun to watch. There's no team in the league whose coach is playing him over Nick Batum right now.
No,
it's just not.
You got to pick your spots.
It's one thing to be excited about Ricky, and I agree. That's sort of why I went out there and did that interview with him the other day, and it was great to talk to him, and go check that out on our YouTube. But it's just not. And quite frankly, he's probably not ready. Like, this Knicks defense, if he's playing 25 minutes per night, the Knicks are going to probably take the most out of his unwillingness and inability to shoot.
Yeah, Nurse is going to have to find the spots for Ricky, Devon. You have to start Nick Batum. The other thing is you have to wonder, too, as we've talked about, that hamstring injury, maybe that could maybe be bothering him a little bit, too, at some points. And then he has to be honest with the coaching staff and the medical staff and come off the floor. Let's head to the arena to check in after this debacle of a game. We were a little more optimistic in the pregame as we talked to Kyle Neubeck live from the arena following the Sixers 110-96 loss. And Kyle, we looked at this when they got off to that poor start, 15-3. They came back and they got themselves to within 6. They put in a lot of effort in that moment, but that was part of the problem. Effort, rebounding, bad turnovers or turnovers at the wrong time, and digging themselves into too big of a hole and not getting enough help from some of the others outside of Maxey and Lowry.
Yeah, look, I said before the game I would have liked to have a beer just to settle in with you guys before the game. I think I'd like to have a beer now to not remember the first half of that game because it was just...
Oh, it's going to take more than one, buddy.
Well, yeah,
for
sure. For sure. But yeah, that was an ugly half of basketball. I think the most telling thing about the second half was that Nick Nurse basically said, not only fuck Mo Bamba, but fuck playing any bigs in this game. Like, it's a weird place to get to, right? To say, we can't get rebounds. We're getting crushed on the offensive glass, blah, blah, blah. Let's go even smaller. Like, let's not play the tallest guys on our roster, and maybe we'll help that problem. And frankly, that was the best thing I think Nick Nurse did all night, was to play small because, one, offensively, they found some things. The Lowry and Maxey minutes ended up working. But also, give credit to a guy like KJ Martin stepping into a role there. Like, I think we've talked about it some as we discuss his competition with Ricky for minutes, but KJ has now kind of transitioned into more of a pseudo big role anyway. And so I didn't think that was much of a stretch tonight, right? Like, you use him as a roller. You have him with his vertical leaping ability. He can go up and get the ball. And they just played fast. They played free and finally looked like a real basketball team. But it feels like, to me, in some ways, we're back where we always are with this team. Like, Joel Embiid's not on the floor and things are just a complete shit show. And we're going to be, for a lot of reasons, talking about the non-acquisition of Andre Drummond at the deadline for the next at least month or so, potentially longer, depending on how things go.
So I didn't have it in me to do a Tobias Harris rant today. You're more the ranty guy anyway, but I feel like I'm so beaten down at this point that I'm just at the acceptance phase of the experience. So I'm just going to ask you, what the hell happened to Tobias Harris?
First of all, Derek, I have to ask you, did you read my recap yet? Because I literally, like, almost word for word said with Kelly Oubre and Tobias Harris, if you're not at the acceptance phase with these guys, then I don't know what you've been watching, right? And to your point, I don't know how much I can rant about Tobias, but as we talked about heading into the break when they're playing without him, he feels like a symptom, or he's an example of like what is wrong with the team when they don't play well. And he's a guy who I think over time we have probably come to understand he is less than the sum of his parts, right? Like he can dribble a little bit, he can score, he can attack guys in isolation, he can shoot. And I actually thought of this tonight as I'm watching the game. You guys ever hear when people are talking about quarterbacks, a big term that's used nowadays is processing speed, right? Like
Sure.
this guy has elite processing speed. It allows him to overcome whatever arm strength limitations he has, whatever lack of mobility he has. He just sees things unfold. Tobias is the opposite end of that in a basketball player, right? Like we see he's got the mechanical skill, he's got touch, he's got size, he's got athleticism, he can handle a little bit. The problem is that he sees everything a half a second or a second too slow. And so most of the time, and this is a group right now that has to work harder for their offense, right? They don't have the human walking 30-point game on the roster, or at least available to play for this roster. So
I
when
was
they
going to say,
have
did something happen that I missed? He's
yeah,
not on the
he's
roster.
still on the roster.
Shoot.
He's just not available. But so because he's not there, you can't get yourself in late clock situations. You got to attack early. You got to exploit any advantages you're able to create, whether that's Tyrese getting hedged against, whether that's semi-transition, whatever it is. And Tobias is the guy who routinely takes those advantage situations and turns them back into, okay, we're resetting the possession, and now we got to attack with 8 to 10 on the clock. I wrote this in the recap. My least favorite play, maybe of the whole game. I don't remember who the screener was or even who his defender was on the play. They managed to get a switch onto Tobias with Tobias at the elbow. I want to say it might have been like Alec Burks or somebody he had a size advantage on. And basically the whole right side of the floor is cleared out. So he can go right to his strong hand against a smaller, poorer defender, either gets fouled or gets an easy look. Instead, he decides to go left after delaying, and he dribbles into like 3 guys. And he doesn't turn the ball over, but he throws this weak, sputtering pass out to the perimeter, and they reset the whole. And that is who Tobias is, right? Like that's when you play good teams, when you get to the playoffs, that shit does not fly. That does not work. You cannot do that. It's where good offense goes to die, is in hesitation. And like, as much as I'm not saying that Kelly Oubre is a better player, he was also terrible tonight. Couldn't stand watching him play. At least he lives up to that strong and wrong mentality, right? Like he's making a decision one way or another. Tobias is like always of two minds at all times, even to the point tonight where he's just dropping basic passes guys are making, like getting hit in the hands on cuts, standing in the corner, sliding along the baseline, and just can't hold on to the ball. So I completely understand where the fan base is at with him. We said before the game, they need him in whatever capacity that is, right? As a plug-in guy, a high volume shooter, guy who can carry the offense. Their best minutes tonight, Nick Nurse fucking stapled him to the bench and said, we're going to play Cam Payne, Kyle Lowry, Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, and KJ Martin. That I would have to go through the logs. That's got to be one of the smallest lineups in the history of Sixers basketball. And they succeeded against a team that's killing them on the boards and shit. So the fact that you pull Tobias and you're able to go on that run, I think that probably sums up the entire night.
Yeah, was not a good night for Tobias Harris. He has to come back out against the bigger Cleveland Cavaliers tomorrow, so that should be interesting. But on a positive, of course, the two things that you had, I did see that you had them in your recap, allphly.com. Go check out Kyle's recap, Sixers, Knicks. Kyle Lowry in his debut in the Sixers uniform, his return home, even after getting elbowed in the head, in the forehead, came back and still played 20-plus minutes and looked pretty good, Kyle, in doing so.
Yeah, look, like if you were trying to write a script for a returning Philadelphia athlete,
right,
people would accuse you of like, oh, you're really overdoing it with this one, right?
Scrap that. That's not good going in the movie.
The 38-year-old comes home. He immediately gets elbowed. He comes out bandaged up, stitches. He actually told us at the podium, he goes, I got 6 stitches, but the doctor made it look like it was a 7, like his number. So that was his joke at the podium. He also, very on brand, he had a hoodie on, said 20th and Lehigh on it. So he was fully leaning into the hometown kid, hometown hero thing tonight. Look, he was great. And frankly, we were all, at least I will say, speak for myself, I was pretty concerned about Maxey Lowry minutes, and we'll see how they play out over the longer term. I thought they managed them really nicely, though, tonight. You can see when you put another real creator on the floor next to Tyrese, and you put Lowry in just either he's shooting or he's beating a closeout in that like split second type decision making role off the ball. He's really good at that. He's not that fast anymore, but he makes a decision quick enough to get by the defender, spray a pass out to a shooter. There was a play, the sequence tonight. Tim Bontemps and I are cracking up on press row. Kyle Lowry in transition creates an open 3 for Kelly Oubre, or semi-transition. Open 3 for Kelly Oubre. Kelly misses the shot. Kyle Lowry digs in, gets the offensive rebound, sets Kelly up for a drive. Kelly misses 2 more shots at the rim.
We talked about that. Way to cut it to 4. Right.
It's like, how many more opportunities you need this guy to create for you, bro? So that was really funny. But I think you saw everything you'd hope to get from Lowry on offense. We'll see what he's got left defensively. I think is probably the bigger concern, even though he's the super intelligent guy. And Maxey said at the podium tonight, effectively, like, look, the leadership and the communication are already there. He said they'd be in huddles and they're talking about, hey, I'm going to run this play or we're going to run this play, Maxey. And Lowry was like, no, we're running this play. You're going to be here. You're going to have the ball. You're going to do this. And Maxey was like, all right, cool, bro. You got it. So Lowry already commanded some respect in the first game. And I think you could tell he was chewing guys out that are missing rotations. He's very active and vocal already. He is not a wallflower by any stretch. So on top of whatever he's given them offensively, I think if people thought they lost something in terms of the leadership and the fire from Pat Bev, I think you guys are very mistaken looking at how he played tonight.
Look at Pat Bev coming back on Sunday, so Pat Bev better get ready.
I mean, I guess my last question is, what the hell do you think they're going to do with the back? Because, like, it's one thing to do the backup, the small ball 1 game. It's another thing to try to do it for the next 27 games. They've got a lot of games here without Embiid, and I don't see Mo Bamba getting any better. So what do you think the solution is?
I mean, really the hope just has to be that Paul Reed plays better, right? Like, you got to be able to play him bigger minutes and minimize what Mo Bamba or small ball has to do. Because to your point, Derek, yeah, I do think small ball is interesting and small ball can be effective for this group with the guys they have available. It can't be effective as like that's half the plan for a given game. Like, if Paul plays 20 to 25 minutes and you have to fill 23 minutes or 20-ish minutes with small ball, regardless of who that is, whether it's Batum out there, KJ, if Robert Covington ever plays basketball again, that's just a joke. I know he seems to be trending in the right direction as far as we know. Whatever option you throw out there, maybe Tobias learns how to play basketball again. That's, again, another question mark, I suppose. You should be able to buy minutes with those groups. I do think they'll have enough offensive talent that they'll score. I don't know how much defending they're going to do, but they'll score. But yeah, straight up, Mo Bamba is going to have to give them something, because, like, I would like to see, given how tonight played out, I'd like to see Darius Bazley at least get some burn. Like, look, guy's on a 10-day, he's here, and Bamba is stinking it up so badly that Nick Nurse was like, fuck him, I'm throwing him in the trash for the night. You might as well give the guy on the 10-day contract a look who's been playing well in the G League. I know that he's probably closer to Paul Reed in terms of player archetype and all that, like, in terms of size, athleticism, whatever. But at least try. Like, no harm in doing it, because if Bamba was giving you anything, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, man. Well, first night of a back-to-back, not looking good. Some big bodies in that front court on Friday night against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we'll see about that. But we'll see you there, man, because we're going to have our second PHLY Sixers takeover Kyle will be there, Derek, myself. We'll all be there to hang out with all of you.
Mo Bamba will
diehards.
not be there. We all rebounders only in our takeovers.
Very
Just to
true.
be clear.
Very true. Rebounders only. So we'll be there. We hope to see everybody there at the arena. Should be a fun time. And they beat the Cavs before the All-Star break. Maybe they'll do it again. Maybe.
I'm not trying to kill the vibe ahead of tomorrow, but I would suspect that Cleveland's coming for some revenge tomorrow. I don't know that I have a good feeling for tomorrow, especially on a back-to-back. But hey, we will have some fun either way. Can't wait to see everybody.
Thanks, man. Make sure you all read allphly.com. Check out Kyle's recap. And Kyle, we'll see you later, man. I think it's still raining out there a little bit. Be careful.
I didn't wear a waterproof jacket, unfortunately, so I'm really going to suffer tonight. But get home safe, everybody.
You too, man. Kyle Neubeck, live from the arena following the Sixers 110-96 loss to the New York Knicks. I was going to say Darius Bazley, too, just because.
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
Can't be worse than Mo.
Why not? That's bad.
Yeah.
Not the fact that you have to go with Bazley. It's just that here we are again. We tried to give him credit in the one game. Was it the Miami game or was it the Cleveland game where Mo Bamba played well? It was one of the games where both he and Reed played well. Reed actually had that 4-game stretch before the break where he played well.
Yeah.
Tonight just wasn't there for him, but the Bamba thing has just been very consistent all season long where it has not worked out, hence the conversations about Andre Drummond.
Yep.
All right, let's get back to some of our super chats, shall we?
We got to run through them.
Yeah, Davon again. Let's just run through Davon's here. And we already went through the KJ Martin as small forward, or is this a new one? Oh, hey, Nick Nurse, why are you still playing KJ Martin at small forward when he clearly plays better, closer to the basket as a power forward and no Toby on the floor? Well, we saw it.
Yeah.
We saw it.
He played him at big minutes. Yeah.
He did. Yeah, we saw it. He had him out there on the floor. While he did not start, maybe you're asking why is he starting? Tobias is going to start. Jordan Poole got benched, by the way. He didn't start.
I saw that.
Yeah. So for a guy like Nick Nurse, we were sitting there and it was like, yo, they're making this run and Tobias is stuck to the bench. He was like, yeah, because we're like, yeah, he's stinking it up. But Nick Nurse did it. And that's what you want to see. You want to see a coach actually do it. And he did it. He benched him for that short time, but he had to go to him and he brought him back in. So,
but if you're trying to say like he should not start the game tomorrow, that's just not going to happen.
No. It's not. No, he's going to start. Continuing, Nurse, why does your defensive scheme consist of you having a big doubling at the three-point line when you struggle with giving up offensive rebounds? I think it's more of what the offense is running as to why Precious Achiuwa is playing the 5. He can shoot.
Yeah.
You got to close out. You got to get out there and respect that because he did knock down 2 early threes that hurt the Sixers from the corner, from the wing. You have to close out on that big. If it's Jericho Sims, that's one thing. But you also need your big to close out because if it's a ball handler who is capable of hitting a three-pointer, he comes around that screen, there's no resistance there. He's just shooting a wide-open 3. So you have to have those guys hedge out and close out. It's just a matter of the drop back and the coverage on the back end to also help.
Yeah. And look, Brunson's had some games too. Like when you're talking about the ball handler in some of those situations, Brunson's had games where he will pick you apart. So I understand the aggressive scheme coming in.
Yeah, he's Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
You got to pay
really
attention to that one.
Really good.
And finally, Davon says, tax return landed on payday.
There you go.
So there you go. We thank you, man.
Go.
We appreciate it. As always, checking in. I saw we had somebody that dropped like a big number. I thought I saw it, unless there it is. Larry Love. What up, Larry? Larry Love. Batum averages 6 points. PJ was at 8 points. Batum has length and is a higher IQ passer, but can't keep people in front of him. He has a quick shot. Not a starter anywhere else in the association. Neither is PJ. Buddy can't defend. Buddy Hield. Thanks for the conversation, Larry. Appreciate the donation in the super chat.
So PJ averaged 4 points per game in his first season with the Sixers and 2 in a couple of games he was here before being traded. So he definitely didn't average 8.
No, he did not. He averaged half of that.
Half of 8. Not even, because it was really 3.5. I was nice.
He didn't even average 8 for his career in the Sixers uniform.
No. He averaged 6.7 for his career. His high was 9.4.
In the Sixers uniform.
Oh, no, not
for
even
the
close.
year and a half combined. No, he did not.
So you're overstating that a tiny bit. And look, Nick Batum is a better offensive player than PJ Tucker. He'll put the ball on the floor better. He'll make decisions off the bounce better. He'll make, swing the ball around better. He'll shoot better. He'll make entry passes better. Like, PJ Tucker was a stand in the corner, shoot a three, and crash an offensive rebound, and that was it. Nick Batum does more of the connective stuff. The problem is right now, you don't have like two stars to connect to each other. You need somebody to step up and create shots, not be a connective piece. He looks a little out of place. Also, he was playing his first game in 3 weeks.
Yep.
I get the frustration. We had a lot of low usage role players come through here of late. I think if Nick Batum was playing consistent basketball and was playing with Joel Embiid, I think the tenor of the conversation right now would be a little bit different. I still think he is a good piece when in the optimal role. He's just not in that right now, and he's very, very rusty. But his defensive point isn't wrong. Like, his defense is not what it was a couple years ago, and it certainly isn't what it was in the prime. I do worry about that a little bit, especially when you're talking about a lineup that includes Tyrese Maxey and Buddy Hield on the perimeter. Like, there are a lot of defensive concerns in there. You start looking at it, even when healthy, Tobias Harris might be your second best defender in that starting lineup, which is part of it's a concern for 2 reasons. 1, he's not that good of a defender. 2, he's not that good of an off-ball defender. And 3, there's just a lot of weak defenders on the perimeter. That is one thing we've talked about a lot. That's one thing we'll talk about going forward. So I agree with some of his points in that, like I said, Batum's perimeter defense isn't what it used to be. I think that can be exploited in the playoffs. I do think offensively he will look better when Joel returns, though.
And as you say that, thank you again, Larry, for the super chat. Let's go to Cannoli because he kind of jumps into the Embiid part. Why are the Sixers so bad without Embiid? Well, start with the MVP part.
There's
pretty
a
damn
reason,
good.
Like that's most valuable player. So when you take that off, look.
If Jokic wasn't on the floor for the Nuggets for an extended period of time, as good as their pieces are around them, they would probably struggle too.
Yeah, but I do think they have more offensive options.
Sure.
Like, it's part of the benefit of building around an elite passer like Jokic is you then go out and target players who can ramp up. We've mentioned all year that the Sixers have just enough to get by in terms of shot creation and in terms of defense and rebounding, especially interior defense. And you remove one piece, whether that was Tyrese Maxey earlier in the year, whether that's Joel Embiid now, and everything sort of falls apart. Everyone looks like they're a little bit out of a role. It looks like you don't have enough defenders. It looks like you don't have enough shot creators. Part of the reason is right now, Daryl Morey kept his trade pieces to not go in for a third piece now because he thinks there'll be a better one available in the future. Part of that comes with, all right, then you're trying to make do with a lot of role players. And when you remove the star who puts everybody into their proper role, everybody just looks out of place. And that's just sort of the construction of the team. It's, like I said, in part because Daryl Morey hasn't put all of his chips in yet. He didn't think there was anybody worth putting all of those chips into, and that's sort of the consequence of that.
All right, we have a few more before we get out of here. Let's go to Biggie 545, keeping it positive. Tobias expires at the end of the season.
He does.
Enough said, Big. Enough said.
Yeah.
I mean,
like I said, I have so much fatigue talking about Tobias because,
go back to some of our old episodes and hear the rants.
But I would love to be happy with Tobias's play because, being a good teammate does matter and it makes me want to root for you and all that stuff. But you can't defend what we just saw on the court. We can't defend what he just saw against the Wizards. It's just. You need more from somebody that you've invested so many resources in, and it's frustrating, but you can't change it. To his point, it does expire, so at least we have that.
And one thing that we've talked about before when it gets to this Tobias Harris conversation, the guy is a nice guy. Very nice guy.
But you don't get $40 million for being nice. Otherwise, Devon would be the richest MFer in the city.
And I certainly would put the shots up.
Yes.
Squeeze off, man. Get those shots off. All right, let's get to these final ones from You a Fraud. Is he talking about Tobias Harris? That's his name, but You a Fraud. Daryl Morey should be head of Sixers scouting department, not the general manager. Well, he still scouts.
Yeah, but I mean,
as a general manager, you lean on your scouting department, but he also scouts.
Yeah, he certainly does. And I think he's basically saying he should be demoted.
I know, but I'm just to the point. I'm saying the man does scout, even as the general manager.
Which is funny, because who's their second in charge?
Elton Brand.
I don't think that's what people are calling for. I don't think they're looking for a repeat of the EB era.
Nah.
It's really wild because I feel like in the 4 games after the trade deadline, the fan base was generally okay with what they did.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they come out and they look like complete dipshits for a half of play. And now everyone's back on the fire Morey, blah, 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 tear it all down.
That's why I love this town.
There's a
And
little bit
Sixer
of a
fans
roller coaster here.
in general.
That's fine. Look, I think Daryl, and really it's not people changing their opinion after each win or loss. It's just different people being vocal. I am sure that You a Fraud has been critical, or at the very least non-committed on Daryl for a while. And this is an example where he can lean on that. And the only way Daryl's going to change those people's opinions is by winning. Like, he's got to go out. Like, maybe they have the pieces this year, maybe they don't. But if they don't, he has to go out with the cap space, with the draft picks, what have you. He's got to make a move that people believe in and win. And It's the same thing with Joel. There's just no way to change it until they win.
Absolutely. All right, You a Fraud. Some really nice things said here, and we appreciate the donations.
And again, if we disagree with something people say, that's fine.
We still want you back.
And here's what I'll say. I'm wrong. And this is the NBA scout in me, the guy who, like I said, I came up scouting the NBA draft before I even covered the Sixers. You learn real quickly that you will be wrong a lot, and you'll be uncomfortable with how wrong you are. These are just my opinions. As long as everyone in the chat, whether super chat or regular chat, expresses them in a respectful manner, we can all disagree. We can all chat some basketball. I love that about the internet.
This is basketball. That's all. It's not that serious. Come in, have some fun, debate, back and forth. It's all good. You a Fraud says, you 3 guys, Kyle, Derek, myself, are the best thing in Sixers talk right now. Love this program and channel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I would disagree. I don't know where I would rank us, but certainly, I'm not confident enough in myself.
No, just saying thank you.
I'm very, No.
Yeah, I'm saying thank you.
But I'm very comfortable with the fact that I'm wrong often. So
I know I'm wrong a lot.
Put myself at the top.
Yeah, I know I'm wrong a lot. And I'd be like, all right, I was wrong. I love Dennis Smith Jr. coming out of school.
Oh, we don't need to get into that.
Remember that? Oh, man, I was a big Dennis Smith guy, man. Oh, I thought he went to the right spot too, Dallas. Right coach, Rick Carlisle. It just didn't work out. Can we include Brianna in that? Because it's not just us 3. We got to include Bri as our producer.
Especially after what she just pulled off yesterday. She was perfect.
Brianna's fantastic, everybody. So thank her, too. Thank Brianna for all the work she did. And finally, You a Fraud says, hit the like button. Jumping on it for us. Hit the like button. It's free.
It is free.
Hit the like button. That's it. Hit the like button. That was something, man. First game back.
I was so excited to get basketball back in my life. And then sometime in that second quarter, I'm like, what did I wish upon myself? That was brutal.
We thought they were going to win this game.
Brutal.
We really did.
And it really is like...
Well, like real analyzing, too. We were analyzing the game. Like, this is what they're going to do. They're going to win the game.
It really is like when you get back from the break, you don't know who's still in Cabo. Like, you never really know. But for the Sixers to get beat the way that they did in transition early, on the glass later, it was definitely a little bit demoralizing. But it's also tough because this is, like I said, a team that you're fighting against in the standings, a team that's missing a bunch of their key players, and a game that you thought you could steal. And now they're sitting here, 0-2 season series against the Knicks, with both of those games being at home in Philadelphia. In order to even tie the season series, you're going to have to go win a back-to-back in New York. It's going to be tough. And these are just opportunities that you have. You can't let too many of them slip away while still keeping a top 6 seed in the East. They need that big fella back, man. They need that big fella back.
Badly. And, yeah. All right. We thank everybody for jumping in and checking in, both pregame and postgame. We had some best bets, too, that we had in the pregame. 1 for 2. Buddy Hield over 3.5, made 3-pointers. He hit that. We got that. I also said that Maxey with the team would have a more balanced effort in terms of scoring, and that did not happen. But they needed every bit of that 35 from Tyrese Maxey to make it look respectable, and he put up 15 in the third quarter. So great job. Hat tip to Tyrese Maxey for doing his part. Kyle Lowry, again, really good play. Hope to see much better play from the rest of the group against the Cleveland Cavaliers tomorrow night. Our takeover at the arena tomorrow night. We hope to see you all there. We hope you got your tickets because we can't wait to see. We love hanging out with you all. So we'll see you there tomorrow for, it's a 7:30 tip tomorrow night, right? Didn't they change it?
I should probably know that, but I don't know that off
I
the top
think
of my
they
head.
changed it. Bree said it is 7:30, so they did change it to 7:30. I believe it's a nationally televised game, so we will be there for the takeover 7:30, and we're coming back here to do post game after the game, right?
Yep,
We also have a watch party next week.
we do.
Watch
27th.
party 27th.
Yep.
Celtics. That's 7:30. Celtics 7:30 on the road. The chicken or the egg in Marlton, New Jersey. That was our spot for the trade deadline. It was a
Cool
fantastic
spot.
Fantastic
Cool spot.
place. Fantastic place. We tried these ridiculously hot
Look,
wings.
if you come out and you want to try a wing, I will buy us all some ludicrous wings. I will eat one with you. It is not fun, but we will get through it
Hold
together.
up. You gonna do it again?
Yeah.
Jeez. Our lips were
I mean,
numb.
if I did it once, like I feel like I can probably do it again.
Yeah.
Again, it is not fun. But
It is not
like
fun.
I said, we will get through it together.
We will get through it
It's sort
together.
of like watching Sixers basketball.
See, man, you put me on the spot like that. I don't fold under peer pressure, but I also can't sit there with my team and not eat the hot wing. But anyway, the chicken or the egg.
I'm really interested if that video that we made ever gets released. I'm really interested.
Oh,
in
we're
that.
putting that on. Chris has to release that no matter what. We're not saying why.
The problem is our social media guy is the guy who handled it
See,
the
I wasn't
worst.
going to
So
say
I
that.
don't know.
But
We'll
you
see.
said it. But Chris got to release that video. Everybody, if you can, next Tuesday. I know we're talking about next Tuesday, but if you can come out next Tuesday, the chicken or the egg in Marlton, New Jersey, Tuesday night. It's a great spot. Come on out, hang out, beer, drinks, soda, water, milk for those hot wings.
And if it's
food.
nice out, they have a nice outdoor.
Yes.
I can't
Actually,
imagine
I
it's going to
think
be
the
nice
weather
at 7:30.
It's supposed to be like
but-
in the 60s during that stretch.
yeah, but it's going to
there.
be pretty late at night. So we'll see.
It's going to carry over. But everybody, we see you then. All right, check out our merchandise again at PHLYlocker.com. Read Kyle's recap, allPHLY.com, and we will see you tomorrow. We have some people we want to say thank you to tonight here.
We got a lot of people to say thank you to. AC Phila, Philly fans, Money Mar, Liam Stevens, You a Fraud.
What up, Liam?
Dan Murphy, Coach Lowell Ricketts, 2 Minute Warning, Fusion, Raheem, Julian,
What up,
Randy,
Al? See you tomorrow, Al.
The Bull RJ, The Good Fella, Medium Grant, not Big Grant, not Small
Why
Grant.
not large
Medium,
Grant?
I don't know.
All right.
Jay the Jungle,
What up,
Eric
Large Grant?
0215, X-Man, Bradford,
What up, X?
Remo, Gracie, Front Running Fan Base, Marty Bones, Bootzilla, Eric Schmidt, Noob, Demario, Barbara Carroll,
Hey, Barb.
SD4 Philly. We got a James Meehan, a Mr. Sandman.
Yo, James.
think that Cannoli, I know Cannoli dropped a super chat. Yeah. So I think that might be about all that I have listed here, but appreciate you all for hopping in, listening to us talk some Sixers basketball. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you're not already, then you can comment while the chat is going on and hit the bell icon so you get notifications when we go live, which is pretty often.
I appreciate it. And make sure you go check out before the game tomorrow. Let us know what you think of our conversation with Ricky Council IV at the Sixers training facility. We had a chance to sit down with Ricky. Oh, Fusion. Thanks for the Ricky Council. Yes, we enjoyed doing it. It was fun. It was great. And, Brianna did a great job of putting that together. Ricky was fantastic. The Sixers, we thank them for allowing us to do that. Make sure you go check out Ricky Council IV sitting down with us three and having a conversation, wide-ranging. And you can find that, as always, on our YouTube channel. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow at the arena for our takeover. And we'll certainly see you tomorrow again, post-game, after the Sixers take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Everybody have a great night. Thanks for staying up with us. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.